First of all, thanks for having me here. I'd like to say how excited, honestly, I am to see people face to face. I was just in Austria at the end of last week and got to talk to actual customers doing actual things, and it's just a joy to actually be physically in the room with people. I got to grab a clicker here, so while I'm doing that, get your energy level up. Get your energy level up. I'm going to take you through break, so get a smile on your face, stretch if you need to, and we'll get going here. So first of all, I'm here representing Siemens. So I assume most people in the room have heard of Siemens. But when you think of Siemens, you probably think of world-class engineering. We make biggest, best products in the world. We make trains, we make windmills, we make all sorts of things. You probably interacted with Siemens products sometime today. You turned on the lights in your hotel room if you're visiting, and that probably went through some Siemens technology of sort. You came on the train, you came on Siemens technology. So we're a world-class physical products company, but we're also a world-class software company. And so, whoops, excuse me. Get the clicker right. Clicker, clicker. And so I feel well qualified to talk to you about digital transformation today because we make both physical products and software products, and we understand your challenges. So if we talk about digital transformation, there was a speaker earlier talking about it. So what is it? And it is a bit amorphous, I guess you'd say. You have auto companies talking about becoming mobile companies. You have aircraft manufacturers becoming air transport companies. We have customers coming to us asking us, can we help them with new business models? Can we outsource their IT to us? There's just a lot of different aspects to it. And I would say, though, you need to be looking very seriously at digital transformation, because if you don't, you're definitely going to be left behind. But I will say that everybody in this room is probably ahead of the curve, because you came here, you're looking to learn about this, you're looking to do it, and so you're on the right track here. So we love helping companies with digital transformation, and we've been investing to make it happen. So over the past several years, we've invested actually more than 10 billion, with a B, 10 billion euro, in bringing other companies into the Siemens world. Companies like Mentor Graphics, the leaders in electronics and electrical design, like Mendix, who helps with low code, so you have all your different operations with lots of different data. How do you bring that together into a single dashboard that everybody can understand? Folks like CD Adapco, who make fluid flow analysis, very complicated stuff like engine combustion, bringing all these things into the portfolio. So if you know us as a world-class engineering company, we're actually now one of the top 10 largest software companies in the world. And through that investment, we're able to bring you something called Siemens Accelerator, making digital transformation easy, fast, and at scale. And really what Accelerator is a portfolio of software services and an application development platform that helps you speed digital transformation. And the thing about it is, we're not here just to talk about mechanical CAD. The world is bigger than that, right? So whether you have mechanical needs, electronics needs, simulation, collaboration, shop floor, IoT, you will never run out of runway if you're working with Siemens. And folks are doing this today, folks like Acres. So if you're doing offshore platforms, managing offshore platforms, very complicated business. The stuff that goes on in that environment is so harsh. You have to know when you put it into production that it's going to work in those conditions. And not only that, you have to be able to close loop that and be able to see what actually happens. I simulated it, and here's what I said would happen. What actually happens in the real world? Bring that back into the design process. A true closed loop. Now this is really what digital transformation is about. But is digital transformation just for those very, very large companies? And I would say no, and in fact the data says no. So a company by the name of IDC did a survey of hundreds of SMBs, small, mid-sized businesses around the world. And they said, what about digital technologies, digital transformation? And fully 72% of SMBs said they felt like it helped them level the playing field with their larger competitors. So clearly that's a very important priority for most SMBs. And so they're doing it too. Folks like Saildrone. Saildrone deploys sail drones throughout the world, ocean mapping, maritime security, those kind of applications. Very forward-looking company, obviously a very forward-looking product, but also saying, well, why should we, as a smaller company, be doing our own IT infrastructure? Can't we outsource that? Can't we take advantage of PLM in the cloud, for example? And the answer is yes, you can. Folks like Heimer. So Heimer is a German company from the 50s, but are they, old school, doing stuff old school ways? No. They're actually using VR, and they've been able to reduce physical mock-ups by 80%. And when I think about, sometimes percentages I find funny, so 5 times less is another way to look at it. It's a lot. It's a big, big number, right? And they can produce variants faster as well. So if you want to buy me one of these, let me know, because I think it's pretty cool stuff. And what about Nemo's Garden? I guarantee this is something you haven't seen before. The ability to grow underwater. There's a lot of advantages to it in terms of oxygen availability, CO2 dissipation. There's a lot of things going on here, but it's a very interesting and high-tech problem to solve. And really, through digital transformation, they have the ability to solve this kind of problem. So if we know that people are doing it, and we want everybody to be doing it and doing it successfully, I want to talk to you about a few things that I think are important. One of the things is global collaboration. We said earlier that the world's changed. We're here physically again, but the world's different. People working from home, et cetera. I want to talk about artificial intelligence. We see a lot of traction in that area. But I also want to talk to you about right-sizing your CAD. So let's start with global collaboration. Like I say, it's not the same world we used to live in, right? It's completely different. There's way more need to collaborate. I'd say probably over 50% of the people in this room are working from home. You're working with suppliers around the globe. You're working with people all over the world. It's a whole different beast, and so we need to react to that, and we need to provide solutions for that. And one of the solutions that really helps here, and we talked about this some today, is cloud, certainly. So IDC looked at this with that same study, and almost 30% of companies, small to mid-sized companies, said they felt like cloud and cloud computing was important right now to their digital transformation. And 50%, nearly 50%, said that within the next year it would become important to them. So companies like the smaller mid-sized companies in this room, I think, are taking notice, and we're all going to be seeing this over the next few years. But it's really not about cloud per se, it's about collaboration and what cloud enables. So I want to talk to you briefly about a software technology called Accelerator Share. And Accelerator Share is all about that collaboration. So if you kind of look at it here, you're looking at your daily life. I've got a certain number of assignments. I can easily see what's past due, what's due. I can take a look at different statuses: to do, in progress, paused, completed. And let's take a look at just sort of a very brief day in the life. So I can come in here, I can go into my pie chart and say I want to adjust the status of some of these things, because some things that were to do are now in process. Some things that are past due might need to be addressed. And I'll simply do that with a click of my pen here on my mobile device, all cloud-based, nothing to install. Might need to take a look inside my product. I know that there's a problem of some sort, and I'm going to look into the product itself, and I need to make an edit to some sort of part. Well, I don't personally need to make an edit. I need to tell somebody else to make an edit. And they're nowhere nearby. They're on the other side of the world. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just annotate this area. I'm going to just write in here with my pen. I have horrible handwriting, and yet it just figures it all out for me and makes it into regular text. And I say I want to save this markup, and not only do I want to save it, I want to share it with the engineer. The engineer, in this case using Solid Edge, can see the markup right inside Solid Edge, see what he needs to do, and he can make those changes very quickly. So then, traditional kind of CAD stuff, drawing lines, arcs, and so on, and just dragging through that through the part to very quickly create a cutout. Having done so, I want to close that loop. I want to say, hey, I've finished this up. Here's where I put the cutout. It's all good. I'm going to make a markup there, and I'm going to say, let's send that off. I might also just do some maintenance here with this Kanban board. This Kanban board, I can drag and drop things into the different task areas. I personally now use this to manage my own task and workload. Talked about VR earlier. VR is built in using the power of the cloud. You can easily visualize your products in the physical world using AR. So what's great about Accelerator Share is that it's very broad in its applicability. If you think about collaboration and the things you need to do, of course, it's very secure cloud storage. it syncs to your desktop. So if you just put files in the folder on the desktop, they go up to the cloud automatically. Has some great task management tools like you saw, things like the Kanban boards and being able to keep track of what you're up to. Engineering-centric view and markup. So yeah, it's great to have your data in the cloud, but you also want to be able to mark it up, share it with other users. The augmented reality is kind of a nice, extra feature in there, but we use the power of the cloud to compute the augmented reality picture, and then we're able to display that with you. Many other attributes that I think you'll find very interesting. So are people using this, and what's coming of it? And the answer is yes, people are using this. Folks like Harsh International, they make farm machinery, industrial equipment, and hoists. And this number came up again, 80%. That to me is an astounding number. They reduced their design and development time by 80%. And not only that, they reduced their time in meetings by 25 to 30%, which is even better, right? So let's take a look at their journey. Sound, anyone? Okay. It is beautiful visually though, isn't it? Let's see if we can get some sound here. Let me know when.
Harsh.
Oh, now we just need picture. Sounds beautiful.
Harsh International is a manufacturing company in northern Colorado. We manufacture everything from livestock equipment to hydraulic truck equipment.
Bob came to me with the idea to create a larger hoist, but one that doesn't have the cylinders swinging underneath the truck.
With Accelerator Share, we could click on it, send it to Bob. It didn't matter if it was over the weekend or he might have been in the office next door looking at it.
Those guys would be able to pull it up on their computer and just take a look at everything and say, this part could be a little bit different. And I was able to just bounce back those ideas really fast between all of us.
The need for people to be in the same room is not near as important as it was before. Now it's on a computer screen. Everybody knows exactly what needs to be done. As soon as they complete it, you see the result of that right there on the drawing, the 3D solid model I'm looking at. The time you spend addressing that issue is dramatically reduced. Being able to take that hoist from conception to fruition and then on to production in something in the range of 3 to 4 months was awesome. Hitting that market as fast as you can means taking advantage of that market as quickly as you can. That's what Share has done for us.
So really some great results there, and we love impacting businesses in that way. I think it's important to understand, though, that Share is not a solid edge thing. It's not an NX thing. It runs across all products in Siemens. So the electrical systems design, the electrical design, simulation, manufacturing, they all interface to Share, all tightly integrated. So as you move cross-discipline in a larger company, you can do all that through Share. Now, what if you need more? You need more than just collaboration. You need full-on PDM. Well, we have full-on PDM, the most popular PDM in the world, honestly, or PLM, excuse me, to use the right term, PLM. Team Center, instant on PLM, modern cloud platform grows with you. So we have customers, obviously, throughout the world. As I say, it's the most popular PLM in the world. But the key is now you can get it instant on in the cloud, and it's really valuable, particularly to businesses that are trying to outsource that IT. And we see two different patterns there. We see patterns of small businesses that just don't want to deal with the IT at all. And we see patterns of large businesses who have really complex IT, and it's even more important to outsource. But for example, I talked about Saildrone earlier. Team Center X, great for them. They don't want to build a complex IT, have a full-time admin, all that kind of stuff, and they just outsource it to us basically through Team Center X, runs natively in the cloud. Okay, so that's a little bit about collaboration, and the world's changed and humans work together in a different way, and we want to help humans work together in a different way. But what about the computer itself? What can it do for us? Artificial intelligence. So here you see a painting, and it's, I'd say, a fairly beautiful painting. I didn't paint it. I couldn't paint it. It's what? Impressionistic. It's maybe a student. Maybe he's designing a rocket or something. What's he doing here? But we all kind of look at it and we can say, well, it's kind of a beautiful painting, and we get the idea of what he's up to. And we say, well, what would it take to make that painting? Well, for me, it would take infinity to make that painting. But if I was an artist, could I make it in a day? Could I make it in a week? How long would that take? And the answer is, I created that painting, me and the computer and the cloud, in about 60 seconds. And all I keyed in was an expressive oil painting of a student working on a computer-aided design at a computer depicted as an explosion of a nebula. And it created that painting for me. In fact, it didn't just create that painting for me. It created 4 different paintings for me to choose from. So in this case, a boy, in this case, a girl. This one very engineering focused with the rocket, picking up the CAD piece maybe. The other's picking up the nebula. The computer did this in about 60 seconds. So the state of the art for artificial intelligence has moved way, way beyond what most people think. Is that a fluke, a one-off? We'll try some other things. Portrait of a basset hound that looks like a photograph. Okay, that sounds pretty easy. What about a portrait of a prehistoric shark, megalodon, talking on the phone, comic book style? Or a bowl of soup that looks like a monster knitted out of wool. I didn't come up with that, I swear to God. And wham, here you go. Right, this technology is, I think, beyond what we could have predicted 10 years ago. Is this possible? I would say totally impossible, and yet it's completely possible today. So, but what about applying that to CAD? Well, our first foray here, fully released about 2 or 3 years ago, I guess maybe, is adaptive UI. So adaptive UI says, I'm going to step across the room here for just a second, says that I do certain things, and we're going to keep track of the order you do them in and how often you do them. And so if you look at this green bar here, this green bar indicates how often does that come after you do this. So when I place a rectangle, I most often extrude. Sometimes I place a line. And then after I extrude, I most often round. Sometimes I place a line. And as we build up this information, looking down the different trees, after all these interactions, it just gets smarter and smarter and smarter. And what we can do is actually predict what you're going to do next. So what do we do with that information? We put up a menu that's persistently there that is always the 5 or 6 things you're about to do next. And so you're never poking around. And it, as I say, the first few times you do it, you go, hey, that's pretty good, but I didn't actually do that, I did this. You use it for a couple days, and the next thing you know, it's really predicting what you're going to do next, and you will never look in the command bar again. We've also done a lot of work on automatic assembly. Same kind of idea in a way. If I'm going to assemble parts, I assemble parts daily, and I keep assembling a lot of stuff in a lot of the same ways. And it's like there's a lot of information that's just sitting out there for us to mine and do something useful with. So for example, here I want to put in this lever, and it's been placed many times before. And we say, okay, I just want to put it into this assembly. It knows where it's supposed to go. And boom, they all just come in that fast. Or I might say I need to put in a set of nuts. And I don't want to place them on all these different ones, but I need to place them just in this section. I'm going to say find everything, but now I want to narrow this down to just this section here. And boom, all those nuts just go in. No more mates, no more lines, nothing like that. Now, as we talk about intelligent software, it would be remiss to not talk about convergent modeling, a term you probably have never heard before. It's unique to Siemens. We're all used to this thing you see on the left here. It's a sphere. Spheres, cones, planes, that's what we're used to seeing, solid models in all systems. It's spheres, cones, planes, all that kind of stuff, geometry, if you will. But what about this stuff? Triangles, triangle mesh. Something that's becoming a lot more popular. There's some guy in the corner of your business probably doing something with a triangle mesh. Generative design, for example, creates triangle meshes. It uses a voxel-based technology typically to solve it, but in the end it creates a triangle mesh. You might do reverse engineering, a part you don't have drawings for. You scan it, you get a triangle mesh. You get an STL file, triangle mesh. You get an IFC file, triangle mesh. These are all things that then have to go to the guy in the corner and he does some weird stuff for a few weeks and maybe you get something useful. Not true at all with convergent modeling from Siemens. So let's take a look at a practical example. We can merge these two worlds together in a way that you've probably never seen before. So on the left I have a geometric model, or do I? Is that a geometric model? No, actually it's not. It's a convergent model that's made up of both B-rep surfaces and made up of triangles. So let's break it down on the right. On the right, you can see, we've turned on the mesh so you can see it. The yellow, magenta, blue, that's all triangles that came from a scan. And we've broken that down into planes, cones, cylinders, et cetera, automatically. But the gray that you see is, in fact, geometry. It's regular solid modeling surfaces and such, but integrated tightly with the mesh. And so what does that look like in practice? So here I'm going to go draw on this, quote, face. It's not really a face. It's a bunch of triangles that happen to lie on a face, but we're going to automate that for the user. You don't have to make a plane. You just say, I want to draw on this face. And I'm going to sketch a few things. Automatically finds the regions, and I'm going to extrude those through the part. And I'm just using the regular extrude command and saying I want to do a cut, and boom. Now the gray stuff is actual physical hard geometry, and the other is the triangle mesh. And guess what I just did now is I rounded between those two. This is just something that, again, a few years ago was completely unheard of. Now something we can do daily inside Solid Edge and NX. All right, so we've been talking a lot about technology, and in fact, everybody today has talked technology, and that's certainly largely the point of this conference. But your business is more than just bits and bytes. Your business is also invoices and dealing with your CAD vendor and all the different stuff that makes a business profitable or costs a bunch of money. And what we see, well, in fact, what Sim Data sees, is the world is kind of broken down into two different types of CAD systems, if you will, almost two different markets. There's what they call multi-discipline CAD, typically like NX and CATIA. And there's design-focused CAD, SolidWorks, Solid Edge, that kind of thing. So there's kind of these two different markets, and they're about the same size, honestly. And what we see in our larger customers particularly is that there's a mix of all this stuff, whether they want it or not, right? So maybe you're using NX as your primary CAD system, and good for you. That's the right thing to do. But through acquisitions and other such things, you've got this other group, or maybe it's the tooling group. Well, you know, NX might not be perfect for that tooling group. Who knows? The tooling group has something else. And this other division you bought has SolidWorks, and this other division has Inventor. And you've got, honestly, a big hodgepodge of stuff. And it's really never added up, but the cost associated with that is immense. Different licensing systems, different billing, different invoice, different vendors, different negotiations, the whole thing. A lot of work to be done. And we said, well, what if that didn't have to be? If you go and look at all the different CAD vendors, they all have a multidiscipline system and a design-focused system. But they don't necessarily use the same technology. So I think we can bring something unique to you here, and it's called Siemens Mechanical Design. And the notion with Siemens Mechanical Design is you don't really have to choose. It all works in a unified way through a single licensing system. And we're able to do this through the technology called Parasolid. Probably many people in this room, I hope, have heard of Parasolid. Written by Siemens, owned by Siemens. A lot of different vendors use it, over 400 million users, 350 applications that use it. But both NX and Solid Edge use it. So when you look at the various other vendors, there's typically one core modeler used for the multidiscipline system, different core modeler used for the design-focused system. Not possible to really have the integration we're looking for here. Solid Edge and Solid Edge and NX use exactly the same kernel, Parasolid, and so we can keep this a lot more seamless. But how does it work exactly? The notion is you don't have to buy design-focused or multidiscipline. You buy a single thing called Siemens Mechanical Design, and you can get NX or you can get Solid Edge, and you don't have to talk to anybody, you don't have to trade in, whatever, and you can change the mix at any time. So how would that work exactly? Well, let's say I bought 5 seats of Siemens Mechanical Design, and it's 8 a.m. I can run 5 seats of NX at that time, and no Solid Edge. I used up all 5 seats of Siemens Mechanical Design. Solid Edge costs less than NX. It's about half the price of NX, and so there's a 2-to-1 ratio here. So let's say it's 10 o'clock, and 2 guys log out of NX, so they're only using 3 seats. Suddenly 4 seats of Solid Edge are available. I can have anybody use those 4 seats of Solid Edge. And guess what? If all the NX users are logged out, I can use 10 seats of Solid Edge. So I can use 10 seats of Solid Edge, 5 seats of NX, any combination in between, nobody to call, nothing to do. And so I think this is revolutionary to the business side of your business, as well as the technologies we spoke about moments ago. We don't just think this, SimData thinks as well. They took a look at this and they really do see that extra cost, particularly in these large enterprises of having systems all over the world, running different CAD systems, and really this breaks through that dilemma. It's not just industry analysts who are saying this, but customers are saying this. How many people have heard of Group SEB? Nobody. How many people have heard of Group SEB's products? Everybody. You probably used one this morning. They're a house of brands. Tefal, Krups, Molinix, Rowenta. This is the short list of products that are designed in NX and Solid Edge and using Siemens mechanical design technologies. And so if you talk to their innovation manager, he sees the value in this very, very strongly. Both Solid Edge and NX provide the right tool for the job, whether it's research, product development, tooling design, factory layout, and they're ready for current and future design challenges. So we're here not just to solve your technological problems, which we will, but we're here also to solve your business problems. So we talked about all these different things today, but where do you get started? I would suggest a good place to get started is trying Solid Edge. Get down and get dirty with it. People who get down and get dirty with it really like it very much, and I think you will as well. This, by the way, is a fully automatic bartending robot that will recognize you and make a drink for you. Learn more about Siemens mechanical design. How does that work? Can you use those two products? Can you possibly consolidate your CAD system, save money there? I would invite you to take that step as well. And I invite you to learn just in general more about digital transformation and how it can make your company a lot more effective and a lot more profitable. Thanks very much.